So, hello Jennifer, it is good to have you with us virtually. And you are going to talk to us today about routing to work. And members watching, feel free to pop any questions in and we will ask them of Jennifer. Okay, so take it away.
Feel it's not for them. You know, they haven't got the
I'm
skills.
sorry Jennifer, we're just double checking the sound because it just went very low. So I've just turned the sound up a bit and hopefully that means that So I've turned the sound up and hopefully our members can hear us. I'm going to turn the sound up again in a moment if need be.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
I hope everybody heard the beginning of the talk. And I was going to just elaborate a bit about sight loss and my own particular journey of having skills, talents, and sight loss being the thing that the employer looks at, and turning that into a really positive thing and not a negative thing. About my journey myself, I've worked in different sectors for the last 40 years, from the public, private, local government, charity, voluntary organisations. I've worked in quite a lot of sectors. I have my law degree, I've started back my master's, and I have a lot of holistic additional certificates. But what I found was when I was applying for jobs, the only thing they wanted to hear was, they didn't want to hear about my sight loss and the adaptations they could facilitate for myself. So that can be really, really disheartening, and having a lot of rejection, which I have talked to other people, can be really, really make you feel low. Sight loss already makes you feel isolated. So not being able to get back into employment, being part of a community, feeling part of society, can really dishearten you. And also having people that don't understand your sight loss, because as we all know, sight loss can mean different things for different people. I realised that people weren't looking at my skills, they weren't looking at my experience, they weren't looking at my talents or capabilities, they were looking at the sight loss. That was their primarily focus. So it's for me to really turn it round. So what I did a thing which I would tell everybody never to do, which is that every rejection letter I got, which was over 100 and something during a particular time, I kept it. But keeping that was keeping the rejection. It wasn't actually making me build upon everything, all the skills that I had and talents, and making me look at different ways and routes back into employment. So in 2017, after particularly difficult personal circumstances, I came to Croydon Vision, and as you know, the membership at Croydon Vision is free, but it does give you access to certain activities, services, and a lot of other facilities there. And for me, becoming a member just opened up a lot of different avenues. So from becoming a member and attending a social group on a Wednesday, as the organisation started to grow and get different fundings, a working age project came up 4 days a week. And I started to work on that working age project and help it to grow. And it's been a very actually positive way. Every person that's been in that group that just started as a social group, I would say 3/4 of those people have now gone into volunteering or employment. So although the activities at Croydon Vision and the facilities and services don't say employment, they might say, come and do yoga. Learning to sit up and breathe and expand is a way of you being able to portray yourself in a positive light when you're in an interview. These are all different ways back into employment. We think of the job as the ultimate, that's the result, but then you have to aim. So today I wanted to talk to you about making some toolkits, making a toolkit that's yours, that you can walk away with every day, that you can adapt, that you can learn about your own skills and talents. Maybe you've never thought about it. Maybe you're thinking about employment's not for me. But this is about empowering yourself to be better and feeling that you're part of society, not that just you're isolated and sight loss is the only thing that you can talk about. I know sight loss is something you don't switch off, you live with and you manage as best you can. But there's so many things that people can do. And employment is one of those things that, you know, you get a job and then people start saying to you, oh, wow, you're doing this differently or you're doing that. But it's about how you've enhanced yourself, how you've made yourself progress, how you've made yourself better, how you're actually building up who you are from inside out. With a lot of us who have sight loss, you work inside out. And I'm not talking about just, you know, there's daydreams. I'm talking about focus. And I think sometimes we have to challenge ourselves. So for me, that was one of the things that happened at Croydon Vision, was about challenging myself, was about coming and having consistency and developing a routine that would enable me to develop my potential and grasp opportunities, because employment is an opportunity. Today's about building your toolkit for yourself. What can you take away every day that builds you up to that end result? If it's employment, I didn't start in employment. I didn't think about that when I joined Croydon Vision as a member. I was just looking at the facilities and the organisation and the services. So it's brought me a long way into also developing myself and developing a business strategy for me. You know, people talk of businesses as organisations, as corporations, as companies, but they all need people. So I just wanted to talk to you about how you focus and about the goal. The goal is the end result, isn't it? The goal is where you want to get to. So that may be employment. It could be volunteering. As I said, I started as a volunteer at Croydon Vision, which opened up a lot of opportunities. Becoming a volunteer also meant that the company could see my skills, my talents, my abilities, and my potential. I was already a candidate. I was showcasing who I was. So when you're going to any type of interview, just remember, I mean, you could be going to the doctors. It's an interview. He's asking you questions, even though you're going there because of an illness or because it's something that's affecting your health. It's an interview. Treat it. Give the best representation of yourself. And when I say that, I'm saying about practicing who you are, so that when you go to an interview or you talk to someone, you're already rehearsing all those potential that you have, those possibilities of taking that opportunity. Opportunity comes, and when it knocks, you need to open the door. You need to be really ready to take on that task. So, you know, in your toolkit, think about it. What's your focus? Your focus may be employment. That's the long term. What's your aim? Your aim is to get there. And how do you start? In our working age project that we have at Croydon Vision at the moment, we talk to many people who had sight loss. And some of these people are in later years, 30s or 40s, but have never worked. So when you ask them, what are the abilities you have? What are your skills? What are your talents? They find it very hard to talk to you and express what it is and how to develop it, you know. But I would ask you, do you know how to make a cup of tea? As small as that sounds, you know how to put something in order. Do you go shopping? You know how to finance and budget. So this helps you in order to be able to plan your CV to a potential employer, talk about your personal statement. Do you go out? Do you have to route learn? It means you have to research. So you have those abilities and that potential to do a lot of things, but you're just thinking about the task. You're not thinking of what it entails. So we do a lot of helping people develop what they already have, but they haven't been able to see it and break it down. So that's the focus. That's part of your toolkit, the focus. The focus is the end goal. Then you have the small bit, which is your aim. So break it down. Don't be scared to break it down. It might cause chaos and confusion, but you're going to build it back up. So think about your focus, which is the end goal. Maybe you want to volunteer so that you can showcase your talents, so you can brush up on your skills. So focus, aim. What's your aim? What angle are you going to come from? Are you going to go to the library and access a book? Can you get Audible? You know, and we're in a time that's called the pandemic, and that's obviously made people feel things are not going to go back as they were before, which is true. But it's also opened up a lot of opportunities for people who have sight loss. You think of all the companies that are now going online, you know, so you can sources, and maybe you need a computer, maybe some of the stuff you cannot access on a tablet or a smartphone. You may need a computer. That's the end goal. How are you going to get there? Are you going to budget for it? Are you going to research and see if there's anybody that can help you? These are all things you can think about in terms of your route to employment. It's not I'm sitting at home and I feel so isolated. And I know sitting here and being where I am so grateful that someone saw my skills and talents and was able to assist me with bringing them back out. So I'm
sorry, Jennifer, to interrupt you. But we've got a really lovely comment. Maxine says, people don't realise what skills we have through our everyday life. And that's one thing you just said, and it's recognising the skills you already have. Because everyone has skills, we just have to learn how to reword them as work skills or volunteering skills.
Yeah. So thank you, Maxine. Thank you, Catherine. And that was what I was going to get onto next. So I do this task sometimes with the group, and what we do, I will ask you or the person next to you to give a word that describes how they see you in terms of, you know, a skill or a talent. Maybe you can't see it. So what I think people should do, find someone who you trust, and I mean trust, someone who's going to be honest with you, someone who wants to see your progress, someone who's going to tell you feedback, but in a positive way that you can use it for yourself. So if someone tells you you're stubborn, you know, before I would take that negatively. No, it means I'm determined. It means that I know what I need to do that's good for myself. So it's not a minus or negative, it's a plus. So as Catherine just said to me, sometimes we don't know those skills and talents that we have. We don't understand them. We're not able to put them into words. And I would put my hands up right now. I was one of those people. Find someone who will tell you, and then, you know, like a battery has a minus and a plus. The circuit cannot work without those two things occurring. yes, you may be stubborn, but use it positively, because I'm determined, because I know that I need to reach a step, and that determination gives me the drive to continue. So put that in your toolkit. Determination, take that with you. The toolkit is yours. You know, it's just like I said earlier on about the going to the doctors. You go to the GP, he really and truly is not a specialist maybe in the health concern that you have, so he sends you to a specialist. The plumber comes not to put up your wardrobes, but to deal with something that, you know, your plumbing. The carpenter comes not to do your plumbing unless he's an odd job man and has overall skills, but they come specifically to do a task. So take your toolkit, adapt it to you, adapt it to your circumstance. Catherine just said, you know, there's opportunities at Croydon Vision for volunteers, and there have been some employment opportunities that we've seen some volunteers go into. So it's taking that toolkit, because wherever you're going, maybe it's going to be educational, maybe it's going to be doing a course. You don't finish your course all at once. It's broken down. So you need to break this down into your toolkits. And one of the other things to talk about is how consistent you are. So, you know, when a potential employer or anyone is looking, even if you were going to do a degree, a course, a certificate, whatever you're going to start off at, people want to know that you're consistent. They want to know that you're reliable at what you say. And they want to see that they can actually rely on you as well as you rely on yourself. So this is about you putting that into your toolkit, setting up that consistency. What's the routine that means that I can develop a work-life balance, as people say? So think about the consistency and the routine that you can build for yourself.
Sorry to interrupt you again, Jennifer. I've got a question for you. Do you still recommend having a curriculum vitae or a CV?
So my personal view is everybody should have a CV.
Okay.
Even people who think they're not going to be applying for a job should have a CV that details their skills, Catherine. I think it's vitally important, because it then makes you focus on the skills you do have and the abilities that you do have. And at the moment, people are still asking for employment. Although the opportunities have changed, people are still employing people. So it's vitally, even if you've never worked, we at Croydon Vision, we will help you and assist you. And we're not saying we do everything, because we will signpost you where we don't have the experience in a certain category or topic to do with work. We'll signpost you to the best person. We have links with in Croydon Works, who work with employers just in the London Borough of Croydon. We have links with Thomas Pocklington Trust, where people come down and talk to you about their opportunities. We have links with Croydon Council and the person who leads their disability forum. So, you know, please feel free to come in and talk to us. But remember, you have to have this toolkit. You have to have the focus. You have to have the aim. You have to have the consistency. You have to set the routines, because we're not going to be with you necessarily. And even if we were with you and someone was guiding you, they're not going to be the ones talking for you. That you're going to have to articulate yourself. You're going to have to stretch yourself and say what your positives and the things that you need, other things that you need improvement on. So it's vitally important for you to understand that wherever you go, you're making the best of who you are, but you're also looking at all the different routes that you could go into. So, you know, people don't like to talk about volunteering because they think they're giving their time for nothing, and that they can't see an end to it. It's just volunteering and you're giving, but actually it's not, because it's supporting, it's helping, it's assisting, it's community, it's a social thing. And it also helps you when you have that drive and commitment and that routine to get into employment. So there are all different avenues into employment, And volunteering just happens to be one of them that can really help you get that consistency, that routine, and also make you, oh, I didn't know I could do that. Oh, I didn't know I could do this. Oh, that's what research is. But I was already doing that, but I was just doing it maybe because I wanted to read a book on something. But as Catherine said earlier on, I personally believe everybody should have a CV. As everybody knows, the CV shouldn't be no longer than two pages. And it is adapting it to the role that you're going for. So this is what people sometimes forget. They do a CV and they forget about it, and then they apply for lots of roles with the same CV and then wonder why they don't get a response. And it's because you haven't tailor-made it.
Just going to interrupt you again there, Jennifer. And don't forget, if you need help with your CV, that's something we can help you with at Croydon Vision.
Yeah. So
because as Jennifer said,
as I said earlier on.
Yep, you go.
No, Catherine, please.
As Jennifer said earlier on, it's about looking at what skills you actually have and transferring them onto your CV, even if on paper you've not worked. You've done a lot of those things, and seeing how you can put them on your CV. And you've also mentioned a toolkit a lot. I think I know what you're talking about with toolkit. You're talking about those skills that you have in your toolkit. Is that what you mean?
So what I'm saying is, not only are you talking, when I'm talking about the toolkit, I'm not just talking about the skills in the toolkit. I'm talking about having in your toolkit, when you wake up in the morning, you should have an aim. The focus is the end goal, but I was talking about the things that people would find hard. So, Catherine, I was talking about the things people would find hard to do for themselves, but they need to. So I can encourage you to focus. I can't make you do it. I can encourage you to be consistent or be motivated, but I can't make you do it. So in my toolkit was the things that people would find difficult, but they need to do.
Okay.
Because but under that umbrella would be looking at your skills, looking at your experience, looking at your talents and breaking it down. But in the toolkit, I was talking more about how you motivate yourself, because no one's ever with you in those times where you think, right, I went for that job interview, why didn't I get it? I haven't had feedback. This is my 5th time. I'm not doing anymore. Sight losses got me, and then you can't pick yourself back up. Mm-hmm. So it was like, when you get up, you need to sometimes aim for something small, so the rejection doesn't make you isolate you even further than you already are. And we see that in the wider community in Croydon.
I think that's all we've got time for. Thank you so much for your time, Jennifer. I just want to share Maxine's comment, because you probably missed it. She says she used to be one of those people who dismissed voluntary work, and she says, but she's now not, because it gives you skills and experience, and it can lead into work. So thank you so much for that comment, Maxine, and for sharing your story, because it's all of these stories that help other people in similar situations get back into work. And thank you, Jennifer, for sharing your story.
Yeah, and thank you, everyone. And I hope people will find either work, volunteering, education, but something.
Yeah.
Sight loss isn't the end.
And it's about having a goal for yourself, whatever that may be.
Whatever it may be, yeah.
So thank you very much for your time, Jennifer. And that's the end of today. And I'm just going to pop onto a Be Right Back screen whilst I sort out, I say goodbye to Jennifer, and then we're going to come back to me.
Be right back.
Catherine.
and it's just going to be my voice because the webcam is currently pointed tauntingly at the salads. But next week is our first time at a new time. We're moving to 4 o'clock rather than 1 o'clock. And we're going to be doing some languages, some simple phrases to help us when we can go travelling again, and also talking about handheld technology, so mobile devices such as mobile phones and tablets, and how we can make them more accessible. So we hope to see you next week, and hope you have a good week.